Hi YouTube, welcome to Jackie's Literary Corner. I am Jackie, and I just realized I said YouTube. I should have said BookTube. Hi BookTube. Um, so it's the beginning of a new month, and once again my budget is back to $75. So I have got to be cautious and try to stick to buying, like, if I'm going to Books A Million, just stick to buying, like, or the Country Bookshop, or even the Roast Office, potentially. Stick to just buying one book when I go there. I mean, the roast office I could probably buy like maybe one or two books, possibly three. I mean, it will depend on how much I buy, like at Books A Million or the Country Bookshop. So as long as I stick to just buying one book there, then I have a better chance of not going over my budget. But that is my biggest problem. Like, I'm thinking, oh, I'm back to 75, so I'm good again, and I can, buy as many books as I want. And it's like, well, no, I technically can't, especially if I'm shopping at, chain bookstores or independent bookstores. The books are gonna cost a little bit more. So I've got to stick to buying one book when I go there. But I'm secretly hoping my dad will come home early enough from his little errand, and that maybe he'll offer to take me there and I can pick up the next Dune book, which is The God Emperor of Dune. The other problem I run into, which I guess I could technically say it's an excuse, is that when I go there, it's such a small store, so there's no cafe or any place for me to sit. So I end up browsing for a long time just to, get in, waste the hour, take up the hour. And because I don't want my parents to just drop me off for like 15 minutes or 5 minutes or, and then have to turn around and come back. So I want to take up the whole time, but it's like, because of that, then it gives me more time to browse and not be able to make a decision and narrow it down to just one book. So that's the only problem with this Books A Million, is that it doesn't have a cafe. It doesn't even have a bathroom in there. I have to go over to like Michael's or Food Line, which are the stores on the two sides of this Books A Million. I mean, there are a couple other places I like to shop at, like, well, I can't shop at Bath and Body Works anymore because I might break out if I use their products. And there's Francesca's. But last time I went, I didn't find anything there that I really liked. And there's a Belk's too, and then there's a little cafe too where I grab some lunch. But anyway, so I'm gonna have to make sure I know, but I'm gonna have to discipline myself to only get one book if I shop at BAM. Anyway, so let's talk about what is going on right now. So I'm currently reading, the ones I'm focusing on right now are these two books. The Crimson Campaign, because like I said, I'm trying to make sure I finish some series / trilogies, and this is the next trilogy I'm working on. I just need to get one more book. Unfortunately, last time I went to Books A Million toward last week, the last book, The Autumn Republic, was not there, which is probably a good thing in some ways, because then it makes it easier it takes away one of my options for a book I would want to buy at BAM, and I could just get that off when I've decided I can shop out on Thrift Books. So maybe it's not necessarily a bad thing that's not there, but I want to make sure I get to it before the end of the year, because I want to at least get, ideally, more, like 4 or 5 series / trilogies. But if I get 2 done this year, then that's good. That's good enough for me. But I do have a couple of 4-book series that I just have one more book to read in the series. So anyway, so this picks up where the first one left off, and they're still fighting the Kez army, who are trying to take away their, what they've won, the freedom they won from the nobles in the first book. And it is really good, and it's surprising I'm really enjoying this, because for the longest time I didn't think I would like this kind of thing, this kind of content. But probably the fact that it is a fantasy story, it has some fantasy elements and stuff, probably helps make me more interested in it. Like, I think if it's fantasy or historical, I mean, now when I say historical, I don't mean like the Vietnam historical. I have no interest in that. But if it's fantasy or historical, I have no interest in that. I mean, now when I say historical, I don't mean like the Vietnam historical. I have no interest in that. 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 I But if it's like fantasy or unless I might make an exception is if it's a more personal story with Vietnam, like if it has a romance element or it's about family. I don't know. But well, I don't know. Anyway, so that I think that really helps keep my interest in these kinds of war stories. And I really like the complicated relationship between Thomas and his son Tennille. But sometimes I get very frustrated with both of them. I gotta say, like especially Tennille, he's just a little whiny little brat to me. Of course, I'm not in his situation, so maybe I'm being a little judgmental of him. But yeah, it's really good. I'm really enjoying it. And I'm slowly making progress. And I'm glad that I think it will help that I start at the end of January to get me, to finish this in February. So, there's that. I am also reading a book that I don't know if I'll finish in February or it will at least take me the whole month. Is Ruin of Kings. And again, I'm really enjoying it. The only problem is I'm very apprehensive that I won't be able to do a good review on this because, when I put down a big epic book like this and the plot is complex and there's a lot going on, when I finally pick it up again after a long period of time, whether it's a year or a few years or a few months, sometimes I have trouble figuring out what is going on. And, and I get very confused. And it takes me a while to get back into the story and to be able to, if someone asks me what it's about, be able to explain that. That's why my review for Peace and Turmoil was probably crappy because I had put that book down for a long time and didn't pick it up. And it's not that I couldn't follow along, it's just having to but it's just more like having to explain it eventually was a bit of a struggle. But like I said, but as I said before, it's not the whole structure of the plot, which is the back and forth between the two versions of events that's confusing. Because I know a lot of people, like I said, I know that the criticism of this book is that it can be confusing with the whole back and forth with Kieran and Talon each telling different versions of the same story. Which I'm assuming they're going to eventually catch up to each other. Which I want to say they're starting to go there. They're starting to catch up. Because we're finally getting to the point where he runs and he meets Talon for the first time. I think. Again, it's really good, really enjoyable, really fun. Anyway, so I gotta tell you guys, which I'll expand more, that I actually had my first DNF of the year, which is a bit of a disappointment, particularly because of the author of this book, or one of the authors, because I don't know the other author. It's this one. I'm trying to get to, this is the second book from what I got from Christmas that I decided to pick up, and this was a bit of a disappointment. It's not what I was hoping for. I was hoping for this would actually be a memoir, an actual memoir from Jim Carrey, but it's actually more of it's hard to explain. It's kind of fiction, and it's kind of a memoir, but it's kind of fiction work too. And it's kind of, I guess in a way it's meant to be, it's a commentary on Hollywood, and I think it's also kind of, it's kind of hard for me to explain, especially because I didn't get very far. I got 13% into it, and I was just not feeling it. I was, like I said, I was hoping for a memoir of telling us about his life. Like an actual, like what Julie Andrews did. But it's more of a retrospective, like him talking about Hollywood, but it being kind of a fictionalized version, like an exaggerated version of it with a little bit of an out of this world kind of vibe to it. It just, in my personal opinion, I just was not feeling it. It's not what I wanted. And it's not what I was hoping for. And if he did write an actual memoir, then I would definitely read it. Of course, I would look it up just to double check it's an actual memoir and not something that's more experimental, which I think this is what this book was. And maybe he didn't want to write, maybe he doesn't want to write a memoir. You know, maybe he doesn't want to write a literal memoir. Maybe he want, you know, because he seems like a very private person who doesn't want to, you know, talk about his life, and you know, and that's okay. But I would read if he had actually put out a literal memoir. You know, but he is one of my favorite comedians, and I still love his work. I would still watch his movies. I still have not seen I Love You, Philip Morris. I do want to watch that. And I do know that, like, a lot of people, especially comedians, his life is very tragic. You know, he experienced depression, and it's very sad. And maybe he doesn't want to share that in an actual memoir, because that's what a memoir is, sharing your life, being more open and personal. And maybe this is the way, like, the compromise, where he kind of does a sort of memoir, but it's not really a memoir. It's just, it feels more, it feels just more like a regular work of fiction that's, you know, it's just kind of a little off for me, a little weird. But yeah, I just didn't, you know, I didn't like it, unfortunately. And I feel bad because it was a Christmas gift, and it's a hardback book, so it's a little bit more expensive. But I've been making that mistake of buying a book and then realizing and then regretting it afterwards. In this case, I didn't buy it, but someone bought it for me as a Christmas gift, which I think it was one of the gifts from my parents. It was just a, you know, big mistake. And next time I gotta remember to look up before I make that choice. Like, I'll probably look at the two I picked for Robin Williams. There's two Robin Williams biographies, or at least one, I don't remember. And I'll check them out and make sure they're what I'm looking for. But anyway, so yeah, that's my first DNF of the year. So this is not a technical TBR per se, because I don't know if I'll get to these, but I at least want to start them. I mean, this first one, I have a good chance of finishing, of reading and finishing, and that is Blood Heir by Amelia Wen Zhao. This is the one I told you guys about that was, back in the books was saying it's a loose Anastasia retelling, or she thought it was, at least, or maybe like inspired by it. And I wanted to pick it up because I was trying to go for a Russian theme, and I haven't done well with that lately, because I was reading Anna Karenina, but I put that book down for a period of time so I could read some other books and finish them. So I want to come back to that Russian theme before, you know, winter's over, which is now it's almost over. Like, you have half of March, and like March either 21st or 22nd is when spring begins. But anyway, so I haven't started, so like I said, I don't remember without what it, like, I know that the princess in the story, she has a gift. Oh, she can control blood. And I remember her father's murdered, and she gets accused of it because it looks like she did it, and she has to hire this, what is it? A crime lord to help her gain back her innocence. So I haven't started yet, so that's the only reason why I have to look in the back of the book to be able to, you know, remind you guys what it's about. So, but anyway, I'm going to start this soon, but first I want to finish the Crimson Campaign, and then I will start this one. Okay, and then I keep thinking about picking up this Paradise Lost, or not Paradise Lost by Milton, and I want to start over with it, because I feel like something that, I mean, I know that the first part is about the fall of Lucifer, and then the second part is Adam and Eve getting kicked out of the Garden of Eden. But I want to start over with it and read it when there's less distractions and I can concentrate more on it. And of course, I know when there's, like, I can't bring it to read during my 50-minute breaks because 50 minutes is not long enough for me to make progress in this, the kind of progress I want. And then the best, like, I can't read it when I'm traveling. Like, I can read, the only time I can read it is if I'm, it's quiet and there's no distractions, and I'm not tired, because this requires a lot, I feel like it requires some concentration. But like I said, I definitely want to start over with it, because I feel like there's, there will be stuff that I didn't remember. Like I said, I know the basic plot, as I told you, but I just want to start over. I just want to, give it another shot to take it in and absorb what I'm reading without distractions. Okay, and then the other one is my nonfiction of the month, other than my attempted nonfiction, although I guess that's not technically nonfiction, is The History of the Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire. Like I said in my one, I want to, in March, do a Roman history readathon. Read some, read The Death of Kings by Conor Guggen. So I don't know how to say that name, his last name, and read The Rubicon, and read this one as well, and then there's also The Lives of the Caesars by Suetonius that I want to check out as well. So because this is the biggest one, I want to start it now in February. I'm a little apprehensive, because even though I'm told that Gibbon is a great writer and you won't be bored, there's always a chance I might be, because it's older literature. But I'm gonna try it. And let's see, I did obviously read some of it already. Like, I'm on the, I think I'm still in the, oh wait, no, I am in the chapter. I finished the introduction. I thought I was still in the introduction, but I'm on the first chapter. And it's how the Romans conquered Britain, and I'm doing a lot of stuff. Yeah, when the Roman Empire conquered Britain, and they were at war with the Christians. But maybe I need to reread that. Like I said, I made the attempt to bring this with me one time during one of our trips to visit my sister, and I was reading it in the car, and unfortunately, my mom was, playing her talk radio, and I was sitting in the front seat, so it was kind of hard for me to concentrate on this and really dive deep. And then at their house, she has 3 kids, so there's a lot of noise in that house, and then by the time it's quiet, it's like in the evening when I'm getting ready to go to bed, and I'm tired, and I just want to, watch BookTube, so I'm going to get on this as soon as possible before we, make our next trip to visit family or something. And probably should start rereading what I read so far of the first chapter. Okay, so February is Romance Month, so because it's when Valentine's happened, which I knew some history. I did know some of the history of Valentine, Saint Valentine, and everything. But I just watched one of those history documentary shows where they talk about the details of what happened and how one of the Roman emperors passed this law because he didn't want his soldiers to be distracted, and where he outlawed marriage. But this one, and of course the soldiers were pissed, and this one guy, this guy Valentine, was like, nope, I'm not going to let that happen, so I'm going to marry people. I'm gonna allow these people to get married, but of course he gets caught. He gets executed on February 14th, and it backfired on the emperor, and now everybody celebrates his day on February 14th. So I thought that was kind of cool to learn about that and the actual details of that whole history and stuff. So I might read some romance-related stuff. I mean, I'm assuming there's gonna be romance there might be some romance in Blood Heir, and maybe some, like, with her and the criminal guy, the princess and that criminal guy. But I might pick up Book Talk book. It's a Book Talk book, The Night in Its Moon. I didn't realize this. This was a Book Talk book. I just saw it, and the premise sounded interesting. Although I cannot remember her name. This one booktuber that I like, she did one of her famous rant reviews on this book, but I didn't watch it because I want to read this and try it for myself. Because sometimes I like these kinds of trash books, and this might be one of those. So occasionally, sometimes you just want to read trash, just to read trash. I mean, I can read trash, and I can read something like this, and enjoy both, and be able to understand both. I feel like the moment you read something like this, there are some people, snobby people, who are like, "Oh, you're stupid then," or "Oh, you're not as intellectual," and there's no way you could read something like The Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire and understand it because you read trash. And it's like, you can't read something like this, it's like, and it's a little unfair because people also read what they read. At least people are reading even if they read something like this. But yeah, obviously that kind of bothers me when there's, people criticizing books that I consider trash. I acknowledge that there's some books that are probably considered trash. I haven't read this one, so I don't know, but I'm assuming that it probably is one of those books that some people, well, I don't know, maybe not. I mean, I don't know. That's why I want to read it first before I watch any reviews that might criticize this book and rant about it. And like I said, it's obviously a romance, and I think it's an F romance, female romance. So I just want to read and try it for myself first, and I might actually enjoy it and have fun with it, even if it's like, But and I think the cover is really cool. I like the cover, how the two hands, and one of them looks like has the galaxy. Their hand is painted like the galaxy. I think that's a really cool concept. But yeah, I might read this for February, because it is romance. And then I might go ahead and read, this is one of the many series that I need to get to and finish, The Child of Prophecy. This is a trilogy, and this is the last book in the trilogy. This is the Seven Waters trilogy, but she did write 3 other books, which I have 2 of them. I don't know if it's, let me check. Let me double check something. It doesn't say it on there. Okay, this might have been one of those things where I had to look it up. Yeah, this might be one of those things where I have to look it up, but I have these 2, and there's one more book. I have these 2 as well, but I think there's one more book. Let me look at this one. Okay, Heir to the Seven Waters, Seer of the Seven Waters, and I have Flame of the Seven Waters and Seer of the Seven Waters. So I don't know if this is the first one or not. I hope this is the first one, because then I'm going to have to order the next one if I want to finish that series. But this one obviously comes next, Child of Prophecy. This is, I think, the daughter of Layden's sister. It's her story now. And there's a forbidden romance, of course. And I think he's kind of a and the woman in the villain in the first book comes back in this one. And I think there is, kind of a romance of, he's a bad boy, he's dangerous, you shouldn't love him, which in a way the other books did too, follow that kind of scenario, but I don't know if I would call Red, or I cannot remember the other guy's name, the love interest in the other book, as true villains. Like a true, well, although I guess they were enemies and rivals. But maybe I'll read this too. I don't know if I'll get to this or not, but either way, I need to get to this sooner or later. So yeah, that's how it's going. So, how is your, so I guess that's all I gotta say. So, how is your reading going? What are your plans for February? Do you plan to read some romance, or are you not a romance reader at all and won't even touch romance? Are you doing Feb Regency? I know that's coming up this month. Yeah, I think that's all. That's the only main readathon that's going on. But there might be others, but I don't know. But if you're gonna do any of that, feel free to share in the comments below. Or just tell me what you're reading in general, even if you're not participating in that. I would love to know. And if you like this video, be sure to give a thumbs up, click subscribe if you haven't already, click the bell notification below if you want to be notified when I post my latest videos. And I will talk to you all later. Alright, bye!